Hello everybody, this is I9 here once again, and I'm back with another toy review, and this time we can call it a return to form, because I am going to be taking a look at a couple of figures from my favorite show, Ultraman Dyna, and of course it's these two. You know, you have to review these two together, it's kind of the law. It's Terranoid and Zelganoid from the last chapter of Ultraman Dyna, which got turned into like a ton of spin-offs and OVAs and all that because it was good stock footage, I guess. But those are the figures. Terranoid came with a tag. Not Terranoid. Zelganoid came with a tag. Terranoid was bought as a loose toy, which is why you can see that I have done some paint work on it. And Zelganoid's tag, let me get it out here. And there's your complete package. Now, Terranoid was released back in about 2000, I think, either 2000 or 2003, as part of the EX Ultra Hero series, and Zelganoid here was released under the EX line for 2013. So, without further ado, let's just get on to the detail of each figure. We'll start with Terranoid, and then we'll go on to Zelganoid, respectively. You want to talk good detail, you got it, because this time we can take a look at Terranoid, and it's got some really nice detail for what it is. For what is basically a remold of the Ultraman Dyna Strong type suit, I think they did a pretty good job differentiating between this and the source material. Now, of course, it is not without flaws. It is very heavily off balance, so it's tilting to one side for some reason. And as you can see on the chest here, there are some paint touch-ups that I applied a long time ago, since I couldn't match the exact gunmetal that they used on this toy, and the face is notably more silver because the entire face is scratched off when I first got them. But other than that, it's pretty nice looking for what it is. Of course, the same details apply to the backside of the toy. Moving on to Zelganoid. I always call it Zelganoid for some reason, but it is Zelganoid though. Zelganoid. It looks actually really good for what it is. As you can see from the face right here, I'm not sure if you can tell. If I move it in closer, it's going to lose focus. It's just, what is the problem? There we go. There's actually teeth sculpted right around here. Now, that is actually pretty important because in the show, Zelganoid did have teeth. This part open and it was kind of like a jaw. So it looks very good, especially because this was one of the older molds. Now, Terranoid was sculpted in 2000 something, but Zelganoid here has always been sculpted back in 1998, so it's very impressive. Now, the tubing down here is obviously filled in because of toy safety regulations and kind of the drop test. Can we focus, please? Thank you. But the rest of the figure is really shiny, which really kills it for me. The back of the figure does look very good though. And you can see all the nice flesh bits, which doesn't make any sense because this is a reanimated stone statue. And unlike Terranoid, the bottom of the feet for Zelganoid actually has some details on there. Upside down. So, you can see, I'm not sure if you can tell, but it says copyright 1997. Please, there we go, copyright 1997, TBA, Zelganoid. And on the bottom, Bandai 1998, made in China, with the white dot down here to symbolize that it is a resculpt, or not a resculpt, a reissue of a old mold. Without further ado, let's get on to paint job. Since both of these figures are fairly identical in terms of paint job, and I can't really judge Terranoid for his paint job because I repainted a good chunk of it, or at least some of the more noticeable parts, I'll just judge the original paint left over on Terranoid, which is the gunmetal, which is on the entire body, and I think it looks pretty good. Now, of course, I did it a little more accurate to the show, where the face is completely silver in the show, so I kept it silver. But the original toy did have it as the same gunmetal color as the rest of the body. And I think the gold chains around his ankles and his wrists look nice. And the same pattern can be found on his chest protector, which is a lot thinner than what Dyna originally had. Zelganoid, on the other hand, is also very well painted, with the very odd exception that all these gray spheres should be white on the inside. If we take a look back at the tag, he is covered with grand spheres, or just spheres. So as you can see, there's a lot of white on him, and that's not very well covered here. We just have a few lazy silver sprays. But beyond that, the color timer is represented very nicely. It looks good for 1998. And overall, the paint job is pretty crisp, with the exception of, again, back here, which is just lazily sprayed on. There's a lot of silver on this thing, and it certainly does look better than all of the 1998 and the 2000 versions. Articulation-wise, these guys are your standard fare. They're both Ultra Hero types, so rotation in the arms and the torso. In the similar case was Zelganoid, even though he's got these spikes on the back, if you really do force it, you can rotate it. Because this is very squishy soft vinyl, or somewhat squishy. The torso is a glue seal, which I broke, so that rotates as well, no problems there. It is more of a square joint though, so it's going to be a little rocky around the edges. On to size comparison now. Inexplicably, Terranoid is slightly taller than Zelganoid, so it's going to be a little difficult to judge. But in any case, let's get on with. First of all, let's try an Ultra Hero series, even though he is already or you already have both an Ultra Hero series and an Ultra Monster series figure here. But we'll try the other member of Plan F. Evil Tiga. Yes, Evil Tiga was made by Masaki Keigo, and that plan turned out to be known as Plan F in the Tiga Dyna continuity, and it was using the same method that they made Terranoid here. So it only makes sense that you compare these two, and they look fairly good together. Dyna is slightly taller than Tiga in the show, even though in the Suits Actors portraits, it's always that Tiga was the tallest, and then Gaia was second, and then Dyna was third. But in any case, it looks pretty good. They both tower over Evil Tiga very much slightly, so it looks good on that department. Let's try a legit Ultra Hero for once. Let's try Ultraman Dyna Strong type. Now, this is not a guy you see a lot on the show. Again, since Terranoid was modded from this guy, it's very appealing to see how much the suit has changed. And obviously, this is an outdated sculpt right here because of the tiny color timer and the deformed face, but it looks fairly good. These two look sizable next to each other, and since these two are both from 1998, you can see that on the monster they actually emphasized the color timer correctly, whereas in the actual hero figure they didn't emphasize the color timer enough. Next up, let's try another one of TPC's self-defense weapons that went haywire, because that's what Terranoid was, a self-defense weapon that went haywire. We're going to try Deathfacer, which doesn't look too bad actually. Deathfacer did tower over Dyna a lot, so Deathfacer should still be something around here, but since it was scaled down to 6 inches, I think this is respectable for what it is. They do stare at each other face to face. Zelganoid as well is able to stare into the eyes of the Deathfacer. Next up, let's try a Ultraman Monster 500 figure, because why not? That's the rage nowadays. We're gonna try the only Dyna monster released so far, the Raycubus, which looks awful because Raycubus is Raycubus. Next up, let's try a Ultra Monster series figure. We're gonna try Shirudoron, which looks somewhat okay. Sildron's a little too short, but that's mainly because he has this long tail. And finally, let's try an Ultra Act, because Dyna is supposed to be the same size as, another Dyna. Let's try the two Dyna together. My battered and worn Dyna from ages of display and improper care. And Terranoid slightly towers over Dyna, which is somewhat impressive. Zelganoid here also somewhat towers over Dyna, which is somewhat inaccurate, but I think it works out to its favor because these are supposed to be slightly taller toys. So in the end, both of these guys get 4 out of 5 from me, because they're very well done for what you would expect out of these toys, which is 3 points of articulation and very good detail. While Terranoid might be slightly simple, Zelganoid is extremely complicated for what it is, especially with the intricate teeth sculpting in the mouth. Terranoid is actually significantly rarer nowadays. It took me 3 years to track down this loose copy, and it was cheap. I will say it was cheap, but it cost me like $5 to find a half-destroyed copy of it. But Zelganoid is very affordable nowadays. So if you can find Terranoid for under $20, pick it up. Zelganoid for my usual Ultra Monster standard of $15 with tag. You can pick it up. I obviously really recommend these, especially to people who actually really like Tiga, because Dyna had Evil Tiga in it, and since Evil Tiga and that guy are kind of related, it only makes sense that you would get them together. Of course, it would also make sense that you get these two together, but that's a little unrealistic considering that Zelganoid is much harder, not Terranoid is much harder to find than Zelganoid, or Zelganoid. I keep saying that wrong. My mistake. But yeah. So if you can find these guys for under about $20, I'd say pick them up. They don't come in a lot like this, but if you actually like these characters like me, I recommend you pick it up. Really repetitive, but that's about all I have to say. Overall, it's a good deal for $20 if you have if you have the money to spend. And these guys are gonna get a 4 out of 5 each from me. So, this is Ya9. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.